Okay, imagine this for a second. You're walking through these ancient, sun-drenched streets in Palma, right? The air feels thick with history, the city's buzzing all around you. Then you spot this hidden, kind of unassuming doorway. You step through, and suddenly, everything changes. You're not really in the city anymore. You're in this world of cool stone, dappled sunlight, and just this profound stillness. It's amazing how the bustle outside just disappears. These places, they aren't just pretty spaces, they feel like whispers from another time. So today we're doing a deep dive into Palma's secret courtyards, or patios as they're known. And they're way more than just architecture. Our sources describe them beautifully, actually, as living echoes of Mallorca's soul. Right, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We really want to uncover how these, stunning historical spaces became, the true heart of Mallorcan life. What stories does their architecture tell? And how do they still define Mallorca today as this place of luxury and culture? Especially thinking about some of the unique ways people can experience them now. We've gathered quite a stack of sources for this in-depth articles, research notes, even details from high-end services that focus on these experiences. We're going to pull out the most important insights, maybe some surprising facts for you. Okay, ready to unpack this. So we're starting with this really captivating idea that Palma's patios are these living echoes of Mallorca's soul. They're also called timeless refuges where the island's history is preserved in stone and shadow. It's quite poetic, isn't it, for parts of buildings?
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's such a crucial point. These patios, they aren't just, nice scenery for a photo. They're actually fundamental if you want to really get Mallorca as a destination.
Right.
They offer something deeper than the usual tourist spots, a kind of intimate look at the island's beauty, its culture, its opulence, too.
Yeah.
Anyone looking for that authentic Mallorcan vibe, they quickly realize these courtyards are key.
Exactly. And the thing that hits you almost immediately is the contrast, right? Our research calls them hushed sanctuaries of quiet elegance. And that's such a stark difference from the vibrant, sometimes almost hectic energy of the city just outside the walls. It really does feel like stepping into another dimension, like a little pocket of calm. And these courtyards, they're so much more than just beautiful spots. They hold centuries of stories. Their origins, they go way back, right back to the 13th century, apparently, after the Catalan conquest. And you can really see this mix of styles playing out, can't you?
Oh, definitely. There are clear nods to Roman houses, with their open atriums. Those spaces designed as the very center of family life. But then that blends almost seamlessly with medieval Catalan homes, where courtyards were about welcome, yes, but also protection. Vital protection.
It's a really fascinating architectural melting pot when you think about it like that.
And it's compelling how this evolution, it isn't just about looks. It tells the story of the island itself, absorbing different cultures over time. This early mix really set the stage for what these patios would eventually become.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting, I think. By the 16th to 18th centuries, having a grand patio wasn't just a feature of your house. It became this huge symbol of prestige for the noble families. These weren't just private areas anymore. They were almost like stages for aristocratic life, for showing influence.
Exactly. And at their peak, get this, there were over 500 courtyards, transforming Palma into what one source calls a mosaic of elegance, all hidden behind these quite imposing stone walls.
500. That's an incredible number for a city like Palma. Just imagine that.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, right? How did these spaces, which started out pretty practical, turn into such powerful symbols of status? Well, it was all about showing off wealth and influence, basically. Noble families use their grand courtyards to host guests, to do business, to kind of stage their whole social lives. The architecture itself was practically shouting about their power and position.
So if they were such a status symbol for the nobility, does that mean they were totally exclusive? Or did they play a bigger part in everyday Mallorcan life too?
Ah, that's a great question. And the research shows this really interesting dual role. Yes, absolutely status symbols. But they were also genuinely the heart of Mallorcan life for centuries. They were the central hubs for everyone's family events, not just the elite. Think about families celebrating weddings, saying goodbye to people leaving, mourning losses, all happening right there, inside of these walls.
Wow, that really grounds them, doesn't it? Makes them much more than just showpieces.
It absolutely does. It highlights their deep emotional, historical weight in people's lives, much more than just grand statements.
And it wasn't just family stuff either. We read about neighbors just gathering there, catching up on news, building that real sense of community. Even merchants apparently struck deals under the cool arches, so they were vital for commerce, for daily life too. They were properly living spaces.
And what I find particularly profound is their role as places of cultural exchange. and sometimes quiet resilience. We find these stories about the hidden patios in Palma's old Jewish quarter, the Call. Those spaces apparently carry just layers of memory. They recall centuries of cultural interaction, sometimes under difficult circumstances, kind of quiet resilience. They witness stories both big and small, grand and intimate. And these stories aren't preserved in books, but in lived experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, preserved in lived experience. That's powerful. So these courtyards, they really tell a story through their very structure, their fabric. You start to realize that each one is like a living gallery. It shows artistry, pride, this deep commitment to harmony, to beauty. You can almost hear the whispers in the stone.
That's a perfect way to put it. The beauty is that the architectural features are the narrative. Every little detail, from the top of a column to the curve of a staircase, gives you a clue about the past. It reveals the hands, the visions that shape these places.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk specifics then. Some of those architectural features.
Yeah.
If you look closely, you'll find these Ionic and Corinthian capitals on the columns and arches, those sort of fancy carved tops. They signal classical influences, and they show how styles changed over time, like a little timeline right there in the stone. And the staircases, those huge, sweeping stone staircases. They weren't just for getting upstairs. We learned they were actual statements of rank. Grand gestures reflecting social hierarchy, showing off the family's status and maybe aspirations. Not just functional, definitely designed to impress.
Right. And beyond the big stuff, it's the small decorative details that are just captivating. You see family crests, maybe intricately carved animals or mythical creatures. Those are called bestiaries tucked into the stone. Ornate doorways, detailed ironwork. These little things offer, as one source puts it, glimpses into the artistry and pride of past artisans. Their skill is just preserved right there.
And crucially, the design itself was so smart, so considered for the Mediterranean climate. They were built to capture the sunlight, yes, but also the cooling breezes while shutting out the street noise, effectively creating these little sanctuaries of coolness and calm. This focus on light and silence, it feels very deliberate. It reflects something deep in the Mallorcan way of life, maybe, a desire for peace, for connection with nature, even in the city.
And then you have those lovely, lush corners, the terracotta pots just overflowing with ferns, bright bougainvillea, fragrant jasmine. They add this layer of warmth, don't they, to the cool stone. It's this beautiful blend of nature and architecture, creating such a serene feeling, like a quiet conversation between the plants and the building.
Okay, so we've explored their history, their architecture. How do we actually experience these hidden hearts of Palma today? I mean, presumably, many are still private residences.
I guess right, many are. But thankfully, several really notable ones are open to the public, and they offer amazing insights. A prime example is Camp Balaguer. It's this grand manor house that's been beautifully restored as a cultural center and museum. People really note its incredible imperial staircase and just how much greenery there is softening all that stone. And they host exhibitions too. Like, there's one mentioned, Paisage Miro. El Color y la Seva Forma, coming up August to November 2025. So it's a living space.
That sounds fantastic. And then there's Can Bortles. Yes, that one now houses the municipal archive. So stepping inside there, it feels like, quote, entering the city's memory, where documents and architecture meet. It's a really fascinating way to link the city's written history with its physical past. Very tangible.
And another one is Casal Solaric,
Yeah.
an 18th century palace.
Exactly. Right on Palma's most elegant street. It hosts contemporary art now, and it's just known as this jewel of Rococo and neoclassical design. It's really proof that history and modern creativity can live together really well. They mentioned some participatory projects for August 2025, like the Table of Apology and La Casa Viva. Sounds quite interactive.
Rococo and neoclassical. Maybe quickly explain those.
Oh, sure. Rococo, think very ornate, elaborate, lots of curves, quite light and playful. Neoclassical came a bit later, often reacting against Rococo. It emphasized more symmetry, grandeur, order, drawing inspiration from ancient Greek and Roman styles. Casal Solaric blends these influences.
Got it. Thanks. And one more public one.
Quel Marqués de la Tour. That one houses the College of Architects today. It has this really striking elliptical staircase from the 19th century. And it's often open during business hours, so it's a place where, as they say, design is lived as well as studied. Literally a working gallery of design.
Okay, so there are definitely ways for the public to see some of these, but then there's this other layer, this idea of silent luxury and curated discovery.
Exactly. This brings us to how some high-end travel services, like Luxure mentioned in our sources, approach these patios. They see them not just as places to visit, but as experiences to be savored. That's a key distinction. They view them as living spaces where art breathes, history lingers, and elegance endures. It's about the feeling, the atmosphere, not just ticking a box.
And what's really intriguing is that some of these services, they offer curated visits, guided tours that can actually unlock private patios normally hidden from view, giving access to experiences few ever share. That sounds, well, incredibly exclusive, going beyond the usual tourist trail.
It does. And if we connect this to broader travel trends, it fits perfectly with experiential travel. And this concept, our sources call silent luxury, which isn't about being flashy or loud. It's this intense focus on efficiency, seamlessness, where everything is just handled almost invisibly to create this effortlessly perfect, deeply personal experience. And they mentioned this is built on like over a decade of really deep, unrivaled knowledge of Mallorca. This kind of bespoke access, it seems, is becoming the new gold standard in high-end hospitality.
It really raises a question, doesn't it? How does that kind of access, getting behind those closed doors, how does that change a simple visit? Does it turn it into something more profound, a real connection with the island's heritage rather than just looking?
I think it has to, right?
Yeah.
It fundamentally shifts your perspective from observer to participant, almost. You're sharing a space, a history that most people never see. It changes everything.
It definitely sounds like it moves you beyond just being a tourist into a much deeper relationship with the place itself. And all of this, it just reinforces Mallorca's long-held reputation, doesn't it, as one of the world's most inspiring places. It really is this enchanting island, known for its, well, unparalleled beauty, culture, and opulence.
And we keep seeing references to its hidden gems and exclusive havens. It suggests there's always more to discover, Another layer beneath the surface if you look for it.
And it's not just a recent thing, this allure. Mallorca has been a timeless muse for ages, for artists, writers, people like George Sand, Robert Graves. It's attracted this vibrant international creative community for years, drawn by the light, the landscapes. The island's appeal seems truly enduring, a constant source of inspiration. So wrapping this up, what does it all mean? We've seen how Palma's secret courtyards are just so much more than pretty architecture. They feel like an unveiling of history, elegance, this quiet grandeur. They let you step into Palma's hidden heart, experience its evolution through whispers, like we said, rather than shouts. They really are architectural whispers of history, just inviting us to listen a bit more closely.
Yeah. And maybe a final thought for you as you go about your day. Consider this. What quiet, maybe overlooked spaces are there in your own city, or even in your own home? What spaces might be holding layers of memory, centuries of whispered stories, if you just took a moment to really notice them? Maybe we could all benefit from seeking out those little silent luxuries, those moments of quiet discovery in our own busy lives. Something to think about.